And hello. For the live at 5, it is Hugo Quintanilla with Long and Foster North Potomac, Rockville. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Ladies, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you for coming on and just watching the live. If you're on Facebook, thank you. If you're on YouTube, thank you. You can follow me online at Hugo Quintanilla. My Instagram is actually Hugo for Long and Foster, but my website is yourrealtorhugo.com. Phone number 240-389-4846, and email hugo@lnf.com in case you have any questions. Feel free and leave them down below or send them any way that's most convenient for you. I was revisiting the video that we just did with Marvin, and I actually still have this QR code up here. I just realized. Guys, make sure to follow Marvin online on social media. He is on Instagram. If you want to follow me, go ahead and check that one right there. That is the QR code for the website. And I'll post it up a little bit later on in the stream as well. But today, I didn't want to talk so much more about lending. I'm kind of lended out for today, maybe for a while. I don't know how long it's going to be before I do another lending interview. But I do have some very good referrals of some guests to bring on. So I really do appreciate that and look forward to bringing you guys more information about the things that really matter to you. Do you want to learn more about first-time home buying? Learn more about special programs? The issue with sometimes giving more specialized information like first-time home buying programs is that they're very limited programs and sometimes come in short supply. Today, we're going to be talking about another topic that doesn't have to do so much with lending, but has to do with just what causes people to have to move. I brought it up in a previous video, the big D's of real estate. But the most important thing to take from a lot of these interviews is that if you have questions in lending, if you have questions in finance, or you want to learn more about these things, this is a perfect place to bring that up. And we can try to get the information to you in a way that's coming from a professional, that can get you the answers that you need. Sometimes it's not about who you know. Sometimes it's about who you know that knows somebody, and so on and so forth. But today, and if you want, please definitely go back and check that interview out, because it's filled with a lot of really good things. I was taking notes on it. It's really jam-packed with a lot of valuable stuff that if you talk to either Marvin or I, we can kind of let you in more on. So there's some gems over in that. But today I'm gonna talk a little bit more about this topic with the big D's in real estate, just because it's something that speaks a lot to why people need properties. And there was a moment in time where we spoke to Marvin about his reason for why he purchased a home. And family has always been a recurring reason for why people buy houses. But one of the reasons that he mentioned for why he was going to stay in his property was because the location was so central to his family. So location sometimes is important, not just because of the things around you and the architectures around you, but it actually might be important because of the proximity towards friends and family, your social community, who you like to spend your time with. That's a huge reason why people move and stop, moving into certain areas. So that's something to always look at, is what are these larger trends? And sometimes if you're into investing, that could be a great way to make a lot of money. You don't want to really necessarily, what's the saying? You don't want to, you buy the rumor, sell the news, something like that. So, you want to be informed of what the market is doing more than anything to make informed decisions, so that you can be on the better side of how things pan out. So what are the actual big D's in real estate, and why are they called the big D's? Well, the big D's are actually just words that happen to all start in the letter D, but cover a wide range of different reasons for why people move. We're talking about death, divorce, downsizing, disaster, debt, and default. So those are one, two, three, four, five, six. Six of them that are just reasons why people do it every day. They don't, we haven't even really looked at investing or anything else. So there are other reasons why people do it, but these are reasons why big swaths of people might move at any given time. Death, of course, we discussed the complexities of what arises when a property owner passes away, and their heirs must prove their authority to sell the property. That can get sometimes tricky. It's not just a matter of like, hey, I bought a property one day, like, now what? If you pass away, that estate needs to be taken care of. And it's either going to be taken care of by your family or in someone that you would like to have take care of it, or it will be done by the state. And that will take a lot of time and a lot of money. Divorce. Explaining the requirements for property sale when a marriage ends, including the needs for cooperation between both spouses. Sometimes the best thing that we can do is get out of the way and just do what you as a couple have agreed. Really, lawyers are sometimes involved in those cases, and it can get tricky, but I believe communication is key. And if all parties try to communicate, there's not really too much more that you can do. There are always very hurt feelings sometimes in those situations, so you have to be with a silk glove. But you hope for the best, and you do right by all the parties, and you're transparent, which is the most anyone can ask. And being fair and doing your job correctly is an easy way to win over everybody. So downsizing. The tax implications of downsizing and the importance of disclosing the information to title companies. If you're downsizing, going from a huge payment to a smaller payment, that could all have its own implications. And we'll briefly touch on that, but talk to your accountant about that and your tax professional about that, because you could have some extra benefits there, especially when it comes to savings on your home. Disaster. Unfortunately, homes sometimes get damaged. And what covers and happens if a property is damaged or destroyed during a sale, and the role of insurance in such cases. This is just going to talk a little bit about kind of what happens during a sale, where my involvement is in present action. But it can get very tricky because there's a point in time where we have to make sure that the property is always covered with insurance, point blank period. There's no exceptions. So if something were to happen with the property, whose insurance is going to be the one that pays for it? And it really comes down to timing. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Debt. Financial debt, including liens, can affect property sales and the need to address them. If you don't pay that contractor that did that work for you that one time, they could take out a lien on you. Or if you don't pay that bill for the utility for that one thing, they could put out a lien on you, and you're unable to sell your property until you satisfy that amount. If you're unable to, sometimes it's taken out, but arrangements need to be made so that that debt is paid before there is a clear and transferable title for sale. Just that simple. Default. Explain the foreclosure process and the diligence required by the title company in such situations. You have to really communicate in these situations. You have to talk and let us know the most that you can, because they're very delicate. And there are certain things that are better done by professionals that have done that type of procedure before. So if your realtor has experience or has a network of other professionals that they feel comfortable talking to, why not? Why not talk to them and interview them and speak more to, what they might know? So just in a little bit more detail, when it comes to death, a property owner is passing away, it can introduce complexities in the in the process of selling a home. We talked about that. The heirs who inherit the property must prove their authority to sell it, which often involves legal documentation and estate probate. Probate is the managing of the property after someone passes away. This process can be time consuming and requires legal assistance to ensure smooth transfer of ownership. Additionally, heirs may not always be prepared to manage the property's upkeep or financial responsibility, such as mortgage payments, taxes, and insurance. That sometimes is the kicker when it comes to keeping these properties. If the property is too expensive for someone after they inherit it, it could really be the reason why they have to sell it. And it's not a complete loss in the sense that the person will then be able, hopefully, to take out proceeds and make another move in a place that's a little bit more fitting, or maybe use that money towards a bigger move. I mean, bigger life event in the future. And hold on to that money, save that money for a bigger life event, then make the decision immediately to just purchase another property. I know a lot of people that wish that they could hold on to these properties, but sometimes, especially in this situation, the way the job market has been for many millennials and Gen Z, that has not been the case. And it becomes very expensive to maintain these properties with utilities and unstable job, maybe working 3-4 jobs and still struggling to make ends meet. Children are very expensive. So, any expense in that regard can sometimes, tip the balance between home ownership and non-home ownership. Really, it can be that razor thin of a line, especially if you're paycheck to paycheck. But death, more than anything else, my suggestion would be talking to an estate planner, making sure that you have a plan for what's going to happen in the future, talking about it. What do you want to be done with your body? What do you want to be done with your things? What do you want to be done with your house? And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it's hard, but you need to, because if you don't, then who else will? And at the end of the day, like I said earlier, this will be done by the state, and the state will take longer and it'll still cost money. So it can be a lengthy process either way. Having a will, having an estate planning session, and really working out with an estate planner what to do can really save everyone a huge headache. Divorce. When a marriage ends, couples often decide to sell a property they jointly own. Cooperation from both spouses is essential in these situations, as both may need to sign selling documents for their homestead property. It's part of the deal. If you're on the title, you gotta sign. There's nothing you can do. If the divorce is not yet finalized, but the property needs to be sold, legal considerations come into play. Title companies typically review the divorce decree to confirm ownership rights and ensure a legally valid sale. So again, communication is key between all parties. I've seen situations where one realtor has represented the divorcing couple as a unit and they all talk and it's very amicable. And I've seen the other extreme. I've seen the point where everyone has a lawyer and everyone has a realtor and everyone is like, they're like 4 people on the same transaction. It's kind of crazy. But again, you want to work with professionals. And we all hope that as realtors, we have a little bit of common ground. Sometimes there are realtors that are just a little dense and a little thick in the head, but you try to work with them and you try to make it do with them, because really they are the key to your client's dreams. So you do what you need to do to get the deal done and get us over the bridge. So downsizing. Many property owners, particularly those over 60, consider downsizing, which involves moving to a smaller or less expensive property. It's super common, especially as we see an aging population. Downsizing can have significant tax implications, especially when selling a primary residence. Tax laws often provide exemptions for homeowners who have lived in their homes for a certain period of time. allowing them to exclude a portion of the profits from capital gains tax. Sellers are required to disclose the information to the title company to comply with the tax reporting regulations, making sure, again, that we're talking and doing things right and reporting things accordingly. So take note. Disasters. This is one of the ones that hurts the most because we're talking about what we talked about a few days ago, fires, water. We're talking about, you know, storms like today where we had a huge storm. Well, it wasn't huge, thank goodness, but we had a snowstorm and that causes accidents and there could be property damage with that. So how does that impact those things as well? Um, Natural disasters such as fires, floods, and hailstorms or tornadoes can damage a property during a sale. According to law, if any parts of the property under contract come damaged or destroyed before closing, the seller must restore it to its previous condition. There is a clause that allows the buyer to accept the property in its damaged condition when an assignment of insurance proceeds. In such case, cooperation from the lender and insurance company is crucial to make a move forward with the sale. So there might be cases where it might be applicable where the sale can still happen, especially if it's not substantial damage or is not um, a damage that causes the person to run any risk of further harm or health risk by living in the property. The sale can still happen. So it's you gotta know what your case might be and just disclose as soon as you can with what you can. I know there are going to be a lot of things going through your mind in such a disaster, so trying to save the important things and prioritize things like insurance and documentation are the key things to getting you back into a new kind of life, because really there's nothing that can um, repair these things when they happen, the shock and sometimes the startle of these things happening overnight sometimes. Debt. Financial difficulties, including job loss and lawsuits, bankruptcy, or unpaid debts, can affect property sales. Some debts may be attached to properties, such as liens from a mortgage, companies, creditors, or government agencies like the IRS or child support. These debts are usually discovered during a title search and they must be resolved and paid off before the property can be sold or at the time of closing. Seller cooperation with the title company is essential to ensure a successful sale. So, yeah, you see there's just again disclosure necessary. And even if you think you're dodging a bullet one way by sneaking through the IRS or child support services, it's all under your same social, your same tax ID. It's all under the same identification. So you can get away today, but they'll find you tomorrow. And believe me, some of these loopholes are closing every day, especially as crypto has become more popular and prevalent. You're seeing regulations start to narrow this window down, and it really getting harder and harder to money launder and have this criminal activity. If you're not aware, FinCEN is actually going to be doing new forms for next year that are going to be disclosures on where the proceeds of company assets go. So keep an eye out on that, because that will start to show you where the paper trail is on certain companies. So key thing when you're thinking about stocks and investing in different stock options. What else can I tell you about debts? It could be for utilities as well. Really, it could be any big reason, but the debt has to be paid and taken care of before the property is sold and has a clear title. Default. Default often uh, default occurs when a property owner fails to meet their financial obligations, leading to foreclosure. In foreclosure, a mortgage company or tax authority. Well, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I wrote that wrong. So a foreclosure can be initiated by a tax company or a mortgage company. Title companies need to exercise due diligence in cases of a foreclosure, as they provide title insurance to protect the buyers against unknown liens and claims. Title insurance is actually something that's a great way to make sure that you're protecting yourself from an unjust sale or something that might be a little sketchy, like maybe this person is not the person that they might say they be, or maybe there's a long lost relative that comes out of the woodwork. Title insurance protects you, that this title company did their research to confirm that there was no pending liens, there was no one at the time of sale, and that they cover the work, usually up to a certain amount. Where were you? Foreclosures situations often require thorough examination to determine that they can be insured, and exceptions to coverage may be made. So you gotta make sure that the foreclosure is there's title insurance on it, and it can be insured, and that all the other kind of due diligence things are being done. Like, for example, were the utilities taken care of? Were they not taken care of? Were the appliances left on? Was there stuff robbed out of the house? Was it left in to the elements? Was it left open? I've gone into properties that have been left open, and even if a property is in okay condition, if you leave all the windows open in a property, it will decay. It's unfortunate. It just, animals will find their way in, and then once they're in, they're just in, and that's it. It's a done deal after that. So these are the big D's in real estate. Again, it's death, divorce, downsizing, disaster, debt, and default. If you have any questions about them any further, I'd love to enlighten you. But these are something that we use in real estate to kind of determine different swaths of people that might move, or reasons for people moving at any given point in their lives. People move because of big life events, not because of a whim or because of a small event. They usually will do it for something that's substantial enough to pick up their things and go. So I hope you guys have a great afternoon, a great evening. If you have any more questions, feel free and reach out. I am always available online. My information is below. It is Hugo Quintanilla with Long and Foster, North Potomac, Rockville. My phone number 240-389-4846. Email hugo@lnf.com. Your realtor, Hugo.com is the website. I have a cool little tool up there if you guys want to check out the website. That's a home value tool. So if you want to go check that out, that's a great way to see an estimated value of your property. And if you want to be on my open house list to start getting open houses sent to your email, please send me an email to hugo@lnf.com with the subject line open house, and I will add you onto the list that I'm going to make of open houses for right now. It's just going to be Montgomery County, and then we'll see how Frederick proceeds and how Prince George's County proceeds, and maybe we might open it up to the whole Maryland. But right now, Montgomery County is the primary starting point we're going to use. So thank you again. If you have any questions, always available online. I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you again for tuning in twice. You guys are just so nice. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Take care. Have a great afternoon. Bye.